Take off your badge, Camille.
Marcus, what are you doing?
I'm firing you, effective immediately.
You're firing your own wife?
I'm firing an employee who has forgotten her place.
Finally. Someone had to tell her. After everything I've done for this hospital?
This hospital doesn't belong to you.
Maybe you should accept that and leave. You really want me to leave?
Yes, today.
All right.
That's it? No crying, no begging?
No.
Good, then walk out.
I will.
And don't come back.
You might want to be careful what you wish for.
What is that supposed to mean?
You'll find out soon enough.
Marcus thought he had just fired his wife from the hospital he worked so hard to control. What he didn't know was that the woman walking through those doors had just received a letter from her late father, a letter containing a secret that would change everything. Because Marcus didn't own the hospital. The entire emergency department went silent when Marcus Reed reached across the desk and ripped the identification badge from his wife's chest. "You're done, Camille." Camille froze. Around her, nurses stopped moving. A doctor lowered his phone. Even the patient waiting near the reception desk looked up. Marcus held her badge between two fingers like it was worthless. "You don't belong here anymore," he said. "Security will escort you out." Beside him stood Vivian, the young nurse everyone had been whispering about. She covered her mouth, but Camille could still hear her laugh. Marcus's mother, Dorothy, smiled. "Finally," Dorothy said. "Maybe now you'll understand that this hospital belongs to my son." Camille looked at all three of them. She didn't cry, she didn't argue. She simply reached down, picked up her coat, and walked away. What Marcus didn't know was that Camille wasn't walking away from his hospital. She was walking away from his, and in her handbag was a sealed letter from her late father that she had been too afraid to open for 3 years. That letter contained a secret that could destroy Marcus's career, expose his biggest lie, and give Camille control over everything he thought he owned. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional stories with betrayal, secrets, and shocking twists, make sure you like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable stories. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let's begin. 3 years earlier, Camille Bennett had been sitting beside her father's hospital bed. Her father, Elijah Bennett, had built his life from nothing. He had grown up in Detroit, worked 2 jobs as a young man, and eventually built a successful medical equipment company. That company had quietly become the foundation behind several healthcare facilities across the country. But Elijah never cared much about showing people what he had. He cared about character, and he cared deeply about his only daughter. Camille had once been on her way to becoming a doctor. She had earned excellent grades and received a scholarship to medical school. But when her father became sick, she stopped everything. She came home. She cooked for him. She helped him walk. She sat beside him through the nights when the pain became unbearable. One evening, while rain tapped against the hospital window, Elijah looked at her. "Camille." "Yes, Dad." "Promise me something." "What?" "Never allow someone to make you feel small because you chose kindness." Camille smiled sadly. "I won't." Her father reached toward the drawer beside his bed and pulled out a cream-colored envelope. He placed it in her hands. "Don't open this yet." Camille frowned. "What's inside?" "You'll know when it's time." "When will I know?" Elijah looked directly into her eyes. "When the people you trust finally show you who they are." 2 weeks later, Elijah died. Camille couldn't bring herself to open the envelope. She put it in a drawer. Then life moved forward. She married Marcus Reed. At the beginning, Marcus was different. He was ambitious, charming, and attentive. He told Camille she was the strongest woman he'd ever met. He promised her they would build a beautiful life together. Marcus eventually became an administrator at Bennett Memorial Hospital. The hospital had originally been connected to Camille's father's business, but Elijah had never put his name on the building. He wanted the hospital to stand on its own. Marcus rose quickly. Soon, he was the hospital's chief executive officer. Camille worked there too, but as a nurse. She never complained. She took the night shifts. She stayed late. She helped new nurses learn the system. She knew the patients by name. And whenever Marcus made a mistake, Camille quietly helped fix it. She never embarrassed him. She wanted her husband to succeed. But Marcus began changing. He started coming home late. His phone was always face down. He stopped talking to Camille. Then there was Vivian. Vivian was a young nurse who suddenly seemed to be everywhere Marcus was. At first, Camille ignored it. Then one night, she walked into Marcus's office and found Vivian sitting on the edge of his desk. They jumped apart. Marcus immediately became angry. "Why are you spying on me?" Camille stared at him. "I'm your wife, and you're acting like a jealous woman." She said nothing. Vivian smiled. That smile told Camille everything. Still, she stayed quiet. Until the morning Marcus walked into the emergency department with Dorothy and Vivian beside him, and tore her badge from her uniform. "You're fired." Camille didn't fight. She walked outside. She sat in her car. For several minutes, she simply stared at the steering wheel. Then she remembered her father. "When they show you who they are." Camille drove home. She went straight to the drawer. She took out the cream envelope, and for the first time in 3 years she opened it. Inside was a letter, and one name, Gabriel Thompson. Below it was a phone number. The letter was short. "My daughter, if you are reading this, then someone has finally shown you their true character. Do not fight them with anger. Call Gabriel. He knows what I left you. And Camille, remember this. What I built was never meant to belong to the person standing beside you. It was meant to protect you when that person stopped protecting you. Love, Dad." Camille called Gabriel immediately. He answered on the second ring. "Camille? How did you know it was me? I've been waiting for your call." She swallowed. "My father said you know what he left me." Gabriel became quiet. "Come to my office tomorrow morning." "What did he leave me?" "Something Marcus has been trying to control for years." Camille's heart stopped. "Marcus? Come tomorrow." The next morning, Gabriel placed a thick folder on his desk. He was Elijah's longtime attorney. He opened the first page. "Your father created a holding company called Bennett Health Group." Camille stared at the name. "What does it own?" Gabriel looked at her. "Bennett Memorial Hospital." Camille's mouth fell open. "The hospital?" "Yes," she shook her head. "But Marcus runs it. He runs it." Gabriel paused. "He doesn't own it." He pushed another document toward her. Camille read it slowly. Her father had transferred controlling ownership of Bennett Health Group into a trust. And the beneficiary was Camille. Not Marcus, not Dorothy, not anyone else. Camille. "When did this happen?" "Before your father died." "Why didn't he tell me?" "Because he wanted you to live your life without people treating you differently because of your inheritance." Camille stared at the papers. Then Gabriel said something that changed everything. "There's more." He opened another file. "Marcus has been trying to secure a major expansion loan." Camille looked up. "Why?" "Because he wants to expand the hospital and make himself the controlling executive of the new network." "Can he do that?" "Not without the trust's approval." Camille slowly understood. Marcus had fired the woman whose signature he needed. But he didn't know it. Then Gabriel placed one final document on the table. "There is something else you need to know." Camille looked at him. "Marcus has been moving hospital funds." Her face hardened. "How much?" "Enough to create a serious problem." Gabriel showed her the records. Payments had gone to a consulting company. That company was secretly connected to Marcus, and some of the money had been used to pay for an apartment where Vivian had been staying. Camille closed her eyes. So it wasn't just an affair, it was fraud. Gabriel leaned forward. "Do not confront him." "What should I do?" "Nothing." Camille frowned. "Nothing. Let him continue." Gabriel pointed at the documents. "People who believe they are untouchable make mistakes." Camille understood. For the first time, she wasn't reacting. She was watching. 2 weeks later, Marcus announced the hospital's biggest expansion project yet. He invited board members, doctors, investors, and reporters. Vivian stood beside him. Dorothy sat proudly in the front row. Marcus stepped onto the stage. "Today," he announced, "we begin a new chapter for Bennett Memorial." The room applauded, but Camille was sitting quietly at the back. Marcus didn't even know she was there. He smiled confidently. "I have secured the financing necessary to expand this hospital into a regional healthcare network." More applause. Then the chairman stood. "Before the agreement can be finalized, however, the controlling trust must approve the transaction." Marcus smiled. "Of course." The chairman looked toward the audience. "Which is why we have asked the beneficiary of Bennett Health Group to attend tonight." Marcus's smile disappeared. Camille slowly stood. The room became silent. She walked toward the stage. Marcus stared at her. "What are you doing here?" Camille looked at him calmly. "You invited the owner." Dorothy stood up. "Owner?" Gabriel stepped forward. He placed the trust documents on the table. "Camille Bennett is the controlling beneficiary of Bennett Health Group." The room erupted in whispers. Marcus stared at Camille. "No," Gabriel continued, "which means every major transaction involving this hospital requires her approval." Marcus shook his head. "That's impossible." Camille looked at him. "You were right about one thing, Marcus." He stared at her. "I didn't belong in the hospital." She paused. "But neither did you." The room went silent. Marcus tried to speak. Camille raised one hand. "You fired me because you believed you owned this place." She placed the trust document on the table. "You never did." Then Gabriel opened the second file. "And there is another matter." Marcus's face changed. Gabriel began reading the financial records, payments, transfers, false consulting invoices, money sent to the company connected to Marcus, Vivian's apartment, everything. The board members stared at Marcus in disbelief. Dorothy looked at her son. "Marcus?" He couldn't answer. Vivian suddenly stepped backward. Marcus looked at her. "Vivian, say something." She shook her head. "No. Vivian, I'm not going to prison for you." Marcus's face went pale. She turned toward the board. "I have messages." She pulled out her phone. Messages where Marcus told me he was going to divorce Camille and take control of the hospital. The room went completely silent. Marcus looked around. Nobody was coming to save him. Security approached. The chairman looked at him. "Mr. Reed, your executive authority is suspended immediately." Marcus laughed nervously. "You can't remove me." The chairman answered calmly. "We can." A security officer stepped forward. "Sir, your badge." Marcus looked down at his executive badge. Only weeks earlier, he had torn Camille's badge from her uniform. Now his own hands trembled as he removed his. He handed it over and walked away. But Camille didn't celebrate. She simply watched him leave, because she finally understood something her father had tried to teach her. Winning wasn't about destroying someone who hurt you. It was about refusing to become like them. Months later, Marcus faced the consequences of his financial crimes. Vivian cooperated with investigators and disappeared from Camille's life. Dorothy eventually came to Camille's office. She looked completely different. There was no arrogance in her face. "Camille." Camille looked up. Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. "I treated you terribly." Camille said nothing. "I thought because you were only a nurse, you weren't good enough for my son." Camille slowly stood. Dorothy lowered her head. "I was wrong." Camille walked around the desk. "My father used to say that a person's character is revealed by how they treat someone they believe has nothing to offer them." Dorothy looked at her. "I understand that now." Camille nodded. "I hope you do." She didn't hug her. She didn't insult her. She simply walked back to her desk, and Dorothy left. A year later, Bennett Memorial looked different. Camille didn't fire everyone Marcus had worked with. She didn't turn the hospital into a monument to herself. Instead, she created a new nursing program. She increased nurses' salaries. She opened a free community clinic in the hospital's unused East Wing. And she placed her father's photograph in the lobby. Underneath it was a simple sentence: "Character is what you do when you believe nobody important is watching." Camille eventually became the hospital's chairwoman, but she still walked through the halls. She still greeted nurses by name. She still stopped beside patients who looked frightened. And sometimes, late at night, she would remember the day Marcus ripped her badge away. She remembered how small he tried to make her feel. But she no longer felt humiliated, because that moment had been the beginning of her freedom. Marcus thought he was throwing his wife out of his hospital. He never realized he was throwing away the woman who owned it. And the most powerful thing Camille ever did wasn't exposing him. It was refusing to let his cruelty change the kind woman her father had raised. Because sometimes the person you underestimate isn't powerless. They're simply waiting for the right moment to remember their worth. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unforgettable stories. And remember, never judge someone's value by the position they hold today. You never know what they're carrying quietly in their hands.